souls. Take a breath and arrive here. For many people, money feels complicated, stressful, or confusion, not because they lack discipline, but because they never were taught how money truly works. Today's guest is helping change that reality. I'm honored to welcome Bernard Barchi. Bernard is a financial literacy educator, founder and CEO of Big B Financial, a firm dedicated to teaching wealth building strategies traditionally used by banks, corporations, and top 1%. His work focuses on helping individuals, families, and business owners recapture wealth by transforming liability into strategy assets, simply earning money and spending it internationally, building, preserving it. Bernard's journey into financial education is unique. Before entering the financial services world, he spent over 33 years in the culinary industry, executive corporate leadership roles. His experience leading teams and managing high level operations now informs teaching international systems in real world practicality. He is a licensed financial and professional mentorship concept through Neil and Nash, Nell and Nash. Hold on a sec here.
Nelson.
Connections doing all sorts of weird things. Bernard is also the author of The Escape Matrix for Wealth Creation, a book designed to help people break from traditional financial conditioning and begin thinking strategically about wealth. His mission is simple but powerful: to restore financial control through education and help people stop unnecessary money loss while building long-term financial efficiency and growth. As you listen today, you may begin to see money differently, feel more empowered about financial decisions, and realize that wealth building is often about understanding systems, not chasing income. This is Beyond Transcendence with Andrew. Let's begin. Welcome to the show, Bernard.
Thank you, Andrew, man. It's great to hear. And everything you said, I was like, oh my God, that's all me. So that's really nice. I appreciate that. I
Yes,
wouldn't even
sir.
be
I
able to
mean,
word all that stuff together, even though it's all put together. It's just, but to listen to it, it's just like, oh my God, yeah, that is me. That's really nice. So thank you.
you're welcome. Truly empowering. Bernard, your journey into financial literacy came after a long career in the culinary world. What inspired you to make that transition?
Well, once again, I didn't transition into the financial industry because I wanted to. I ended up doing it because I needed to. And I'm a former chef, so I spent 33 years of my life. Now was a 50% owner in a USDA food processing plant. So anybody out there, if you understand Vegas, you think they do all their food and everything in all the hotels and casinos. However, they outsource a lot because of the unions. And workers are a lot more pricey than they would rather pay a higher food cost than worry about the labor cost. So they never really wanted to bring on more employees because you have to keep them. And if you don't have a business, what do you do? So they started outsourcing. So I ended up capitalizing off of that by selling to the hotels and casinos. Since even though I worked for the hotels and casinos, I did that for a good amount of time. It was really good. But I have a son. He was 24 at the time. He lived in Santa Cruz. And he called me up and says, "Hey, Dad, it was about a week before his birthday." He said, "Can you come down for my birthday?" I said, "Dude, you know my schedule. That USDA food processing plant is 24/7. I mean, 24/7, 365 days a year. And I was the owner and the executive chef. So I had to be on property all the time. And we were selling to convenience stores and different things like that too. So it was nonstop production. What's anybody that wants to get involved in a USDA food processing plant, you got to realize you're going to work with the USDA agent every single day. They're sitting in your building, and sometimes they just park their, they just sit there, and because they don't want to go to another place, and they're just going to sit there for hours, and they're just going through your books. So it's like having a health department on your property all the time. So it's a lot more. I couldn't leave. I couldn't rely on anybody else because I didn't build anybody else to do it. And I didn't think like that. So when he said that, I said, I hung up the phone. I just started thinking about all the holidays, all the birthdays I've never seen with my son. because being a chef, you work the holidays. That's when other people are going out to celebrate. So you're always doing that stuff. So I never really spent that time. Plus, he lived in California and I was out in the Nevada area. So it was a lot of traveling back and forth. And, I maybe get him on weekends. He wasn't allowed to fly. His mom would never let him fly because she had a fear of flying. So always had to drive down and pick him up. And I just got off the phone and I went into my partnership. I said, you know what? I'm done. I said, I'm signing over my partnership. I said, I'm canceling out. She goes, what are you going to do? I said, I have no idea. I said, but I never want to pay a tax again. I said, I'm going to learn strategies that, because I got paid well. It took me years to get paid well, just so you know, because this is the matrix. And that's why I refer to the matrix. Go to school, get an education, build up years, take some years to build up the ladder, stay where you are forever. And then hopefully get a nice pension that you could retire. Well, that doesn't really happen. So I did all that stuff, everything that I needed to do. I didn't have any wealth though. And I said, if I never want to pay a tax again, I had to learn these things. So I just started studying. I left and I did YouTube University. I didn't have to go back to school for any of this stuff. I'm totally against the educational system now because of what I did when I got out of it. But I did it later in my years. I did it at the age of 55 is when I left the matrix. Everybody young needs to understand what I'm going to be talking about, because if you make the change now, within 15 years, 20 years max, you will have so much wealth. It's incredible, because the best way to make money is not lose it. And I didn't know that, because all we do is we make money, we go spend more money. I hear on the news right now, a lot of these entertainers that are broke. They have to, like Jim Carrey had to go back and he had to start working again because he ran out of money, because they're not doing things correctly. Just because we make money doesn't mean, hey, I'm rich. Rich doesn't build wealth. And I didn't know that. So I just started learning. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I did research I said, let me learn an industry that I'll never have to reinvent myself again. Because I had all my chef buddies saying, hey, you're going to get your own restaurant. I said, guys, I'm up in the years right now. I said, if that restaurant doesn't make it, I got to go find another location, or I got to close it down and get another one. I said, I don't have time to do that. I said, I got to pick an industry that I don't have to reinvent myself, and I just have to learn it. Well, the only industry that doesn't lose money is in the financial industry, but the only industry in the financial industry that doesn't lose money is the insurance industry. And I had no idea about that, because, I had insurance through work, 401ks, car insurance, and you think all these things, but they all fall underneath life insurance. Life insurance is the industry. All other insurances fall underneath it. So I said, holy crap, I got to learn life insurance. I don't know anything about it. So everything I did was learning and research and different things like that. So I started studying the banking system, because banks are in business to make money. And they're really good. If you ever go in their balance sheet, these publicly traded banks, it's available for you. There's so much wealth in those things, but they're not rewarding us a single penny. And that's what I didn't understand either. I'm like, well, how are they making so much money, but they don't have any money? So I started digging deeper into that. Andrew, and I'm sure you know, but what's the number one asset on a bank's balance sheet?
Number one asset on the bank balance sheet is that's a really good question. It just slipped my mind. Please educate us. Life insurance.
Yeah, life insurance. Yeah. But how's a bank even have a life? So this is where I got thrown completely for a loop. Now, I'm in the insurance industry. I'm being taught how to sell life insurance, how to educate people, how to use it, protect their loved ones when they pass away. It's a death benefit that they sell to the matrix. And the reason why I refer to the matrix is 95% of the population. The real world is only 5% of the population, because that 1% that you mentioned is now there's 4% that have they've already learned the strategies. So they're moving into that same area. But it's banks and corporations in the upper 5% that know how to use strategies. Well, life insurance is a strategy. It's not a vehicle to die. It's a vehicle for wealth creation. That's the reason why banks use it. But banks don't have a life, so they leverage because they don't have any money either. They leverage our money to make money. So everything they do is brilliant. I call them criminals, though, okay, because they don't reward us. They just make a lot of money off of us. They leverage life insurance to protect 25% of their net worth. They will never lose 25% of the net worth. And remember, it's not even their money. They're using our money and parking it into life insurance. Now, people are going to say, well, how can they do that? Well, what they do is they take a life insurance policy out on key executives. They don't take it out on the line staff or anything like that, okay, because they're not allowed. But what they do is this is part of the stipulation for a key executive to get $250,000, $300,000 salary a year. They have to get a life insurance policy taken out on them. Well, when they take a life insurance policy out on a key executive, guess who owns the life insurance policy? It's the banking system.
The company.
Yeah. Not the people. The people have their own, they have it for their family, but the bank now owns the life insurance policy. People don't understand that that's a guaranteed payout for the bank. Now, will they take a life insurance policy out of me if I'm a key executive? Not at my age, because the death benefit's not high enough. Remember, banks are in business to make money. They're not going to take a policy out on me because they can't get enough death benefit because I'm older. But they'll get it on a young one. So they'll take life insurance on key executives 25, 35 years of age because their death benefit might be starting out at $5 million. But we're buying life insurance at $100,000, $200,000, $250,000. I have one gentleman just the other day, he says, I have $1 million death benefit. That's good for you. I said, it's a term policy, right? He goes, yeah. I said, you're 31 years old. I said, your terms. I said, how long have you had your term? He says, 5 years. I said, so it's going to expire in 25 years. Do you plan on living? Well, I hope so. I said, but you're not going to have a term anymore. You're not going to have that $1 million. And now if you need to get life insurance, oh my God, if you wanted that $1 million again, it's going to probably cost you $4,000 a month. Plus, you'll never get it. They'll never give them to you. Once you're that old, they're not going to give you $1 million death benefit. It's just not going to happen. You know, it might be 300,000, might be the max that he can get. So that's horrible, but we don't know any better. That's how they sell it to the matrix. That's why I was saying the real world knows how to leverage strategies. So a bank does it, but they don't buy. And here's another big blessing and a half too, and I'm trying to get people to understand, and this is what I needed to learn myself. If you know that a company is a shareholding company and you're a customer to the company, does it benefit you or does your business benefit the shareholders?
That benefits the shareholders.
All of it. And then our banks, most of the banks are shareholding companies. So that's why the clients like us don't reap the rewards. That's why they don't give us really good interest rates, because they can't. Because the shareholders have to make money. They got to do everything to make money for the shareholders. Well, insurance companies are the same. Insurance are shareholding companies, some of them. If you have life insurance in a shareholding company, it's not benefiting you as a client. It's better to have something than nothing, but it doesn't benefit you. So banks don't use shareholding companies. So this is what I started learning. It's like, well, okay, I didn't understand that. So when I got in the industry, they were teaching me how to sell life insurance. They were using shareholding companies, but it doesn't benefit the client. And then what I found out also is the bank will take a life insurance policy out on a key executive and they never stop paying on it. If you think about it, they're paying it. It's not even their money that they're paying on it. They use our money to lock it into life insurance to protect 25% of their net worth. It's not even their money, it's our money. And they're leveraging life insurance to never lose 25%. And we buy it to die. This is what I started learning. I'm like, this is crazy. So bank will hold that policy, even if that person doesn't work for the bank anymore. They went on and started their own life and they quit. Bank still owns the policy. It's a private contract. Bankruptcy, liens, collections, and the government cannot touch life insurance. It's a private contract. It's called a tier one asset, safest place to put your money. So if banks are using it, why are we buying it to die? This is what I started. This is why I had to start my company, because I didn't like the industry of how they're teaching agents how to sell life insurance. Why don't we teach people how to use it? Now, Andrew, I do talk to agents a lot, and I always ask them, what's your strategy of the life insurance that you sell to your clients? And they're going to come back to me and say, what are you talking about? What strategy do you use? I don't know what you mean. Well, what do you sell? Well, I sell term policies and IULs. Well, what's your strategy for your client? How can your clients use it? Oh, we got living benefits. I said, what is a living benefit? And I know what a living benefit is, but I just want to hear them say it. But he says, well, a client can get critically ill, chronically ill, or terminally ill. They get to leverage the death benefit. I said, that's really good. I said, but isn't there a key word involved into that? They have to get sick to use it. Why can't they use it while they're alive and healthy? A bank isn't sick. A bank doesn't even have a life, but a bank is using life insurance. So why are we buying it to die and we can use it when we get sick? That is the way they sell it to the matrix. The ultra wealthy don't have those. Just so you know, the banking strategy also has living benefits built into it too. So you still have access to the same things, but you could use it while you're alive and healthy. I always tell people, said, how would you like to pay your bills and make money off your expenses? Andrew, I ran restaurants, and people don't understand there's not a lot of profit in restaurants. Okay. And then let's use Walmart as an example, even though they're not a restaurant, but they only make a 3% profit. That's not a lot of profit. But when you have the volume that they have, that's a lot of profit, if that makes sense. 3% is a lot of money based on a lot of volume. Well, restaurants, we're at about 15% profit. Okay, because you don't have tons of volume, so you got to get the profit up a little bit more because you got to make money. But 85% was lost toward expenses. Payroll's a killer. I mean, that's why you see AI coming into play, because eliminate people. And it just makes sense. So, now you got kiosks at McDonald's where you don't even talk to anybody anymore. You just go put your order in, and now you'd still have people in the back, but it eliminates some of the staff. Genius. But however, it's coming. And it's because there's a lot of, you got to reap the rewards. You have to do it. Be in a business, and if you never want to pay a tax again, you have to have a business. You can't do it as a person. You know that. I mean, you got a job, and I use it like a dirty word. You have a job. Well, once you get paid, boom, taxes are taken out. Now your money's already taxed, but now you got to go buy groceries, taxed again. Now you got to go buy gas, taxed again. Now you got to go buy this, taxed again. Now you got to go, you're sitting in your home, it's taxed. Okay, so everything's taxed, but your money just got taxed. So we're losing our wealth like crazy. So you make all the money, you get taxed on, and then you pay all your bills. Now you don't have any more money. You killed your golden goose. With a business, and this is why I said I never want to pay a tax again, but as a business, you make money, then you pay all your bills, and then whatever you have left over, you get taxed on. That makes more sense. So I tell people you have to start a business. You can't be a person, you have to be an entity. So Be Big Financial Solutions is its own entity. We're helping educate people on how to set up corporations correctly, because there's also problems on how you set up a corporation. I always refer to movies, and I used to watch movies because I like them, but now I watch movies and I understand certain things, like The Matrix, the movie. It's a construct. It's not real. That's 95% of the population. School, education, JOBs, all that stuff. That's an intentional design to keep us trapped. Buy a home. Is that an asset? No, it's a liability. If it's not making you money, it's a liability. And people got to think like that. I didn't. I bought 2 homes, saved up money for a down payment, gave them the money, bought the home, and you think you're super happy. I got a home. I'm an owner. I got an asset. We don't even have a balance sheet. So we can't add it to a balance sheet. We got a bank statement, and you can't add anything to a bank statement. It's just money in, money out, money in, money out. But a business is a balance sheet. So this is what I call bank criminals, but they're geniuses. Banks are not allowed to own real estate, but they give you a mortgage for real estate. So you qualify to purchase a home. They take that purchase when they qualify you. Now the money is going to you for the mortgage, which you got to pay for it anyhow. They just covered it, but it goes on their balance sheet as a real estate asset. So they can't buy real estate, but they could acquire it. So they use us to purchase it for them. It's all about leverage. So I'm trying to teach people to do the exact same thing. Can you buy a home as a business? Yes. You design it as a rental property. You buy it through a corporation. Governor Newsom just did that in California. He bought a $10 million home and incorporated it 3 days before the closing. So he doesn't own it. His corporation does. He's not even liable for it. Genius. This is what we're trying to educate people on too. So if you ever seen the movie Black Panther, they have the dome over Wakanda. Well, the dome is to protect Wakanda. Nobody knows it's there. Well, when you leverage life insurance, you're protecting your money. That's why banks use it. They'll never lose 25% of their net worth. We buy it to die. So we're just paying into it. It's a liability to us. Hopefully it'll be a benefit to somebody else when we pass away. But if you leave them only $100,000, what's that going to do anyhow? That's a burial cost. By the time you pass away 30 years later, I mean, the burial cost might even be more because prices are constantly going up. So dollar gets smaller as time goes on. So your money has to grow. It can't go like this, like the stock market. Matrix leverages the wrong strategies. That's why the book you were talking about, Escape the Matrix for Wealth Creation, it's just telling people forget everything you've ever been taught, start thinking like the real world. You could still be in the matrix, you could still have a job, but leverage real world strategies. What I will do from now on, when I purchase my home, I'm leveraging life insurance to purchase my home. The blessing behind life insurance, like I said, you never lose your money. So you put all your money into this is what I call your savings account. You'll protect your golden goose leveraging life insurance. And it's life insurance. It comes with a death benefit, but you're not buying it for it. You're using it, and it's a life insurance policy. So you're using it to build cash, and it's literally designed for banking. There's a lot of vehicles out there that aren't explained correctly, and that's the industry. But it's intentional because the agents don't even know. These are designed, and this is what the ultra wealthy know. They know how to leverage a vehicle for wealth creation, and they're just using life insurance to do it. Private contract. So if you put money into a saving, like in for a down payment, say you needed $20K for a down payment on a home. The goal is to put that into your life insurance policy. Now you can't put $20K in and borrow $20K. You bought life insurance, it comes with the death benefit. So you might have to put $30K in to borrow $20K. But you put $30,000 into your policy to take a loan from the insurance company for $20,000. Your $30,000 is still in there growing. You don't touch it. You just leverage it as collateral to borrow insurance companies' money. They have to lend it to you. It's called the 7702 tax code in the United States. It's leveraging life insurance to borrow insurance companies' money. You just put your money up as collateral. What I love about this stuff is now you didn't use your money to put a down payment on the home. Because if you did that, you built up $20,000 in a savings account, you took it out, you don't have that $20,000 anymore. You gave it to the bank has $20,000. They're happy, they're making money, it's collecting interest. And I guarantee you their interest isn't 0.01 that they're giving us. Their interest is in a vehicle that's probably double-digit returns. And they're lending it to people, and they're charging them 15, 18, 19, 29%. That's how banks make money. So it's the flow of the money system that has to move. Our money sits and dies. So you're never going to build your wealth the same way. It's a lot of moving parts, but life insurance is the main vehicle to protect your wealth and leverage for other things. That's what BBig's trying to educate. Should we start a business? Yes. Does it matter what it is? No. I tell people, if you're join a network marketing company, just join them and create a corporation. Even if you're not making money on that, start a corporation. If you want to buy a home, buy it through a corporation. Create a business to purchase your home. But what you do is you have to own it. This is loopholes that you can do. What you want to do is create a trust. Okay, so it should be an irrevocable trust, because if it's revocable, then there's moving parts, and then the government and people that you owe money to can figure out how to sneak into this thing. But if you get an irrevocable trust, you can't touch it. So irrevocable trust owns everything. And then your life insurance is owned by the irrevocable trust. But you're the owner of the trust. You just don't exist in the trust. This is why I call it Wakanda. You got a dome over that. So you're protecting everything you have. You move every single asset underneath the dome. So the trust is the key. Now, if you're going to create a business, you build a shelf corporation, or not a holding company. So what you do is you build a holding company. The holding company then owns every other company. And what you do is with the other companies is you prepare them as pass through. So they only pay the bills. So all the money these businesses make, they pay the bills. Any extra gets pushed up to the holding company, which is owned by the trust. Government can't touch any of the money. That's where you pay yourself a salary out of. This is how you avoid taxes. Can't do it with the JOB. These are things I had to learn. And I tell people, my God, I'm a former chef. If you would have talked to me when I was plugged into the matrix, I'd look at you and say, I want, kind of like people are doing with me right now. The hell are you talking about? Because it's a lot, but the wealth is only by 5% of the population for a reason, because they know. And remember, like I asked a lady yesterday, and I asked her, I said, how would you like to never pay a tax again? Real quick. Yeah, that'd be great. You think it's feasible? Said, I don't know. I said, do you think somebody else is doing it? Yeah, probably. I said, I studied the ones that are doing it, because I knew there was somebody doing it. And what do they know that I don't know? Well, the little company that I studied, Andrew, was Amazon. Amazon's never paid a tax since day one when they started. So how do they do it? What do they do? Pass through money. Remember, I was telling you about a business. You make income, but then you pay all your bills and then you get taxed. So what does Amazon do? They've got a lot of money. They paid all their bills, but now they got more money. So what do? They buy land. They develop land, put another warehouse on it. Boom, gone. Now, guess what? They have all this net worth that they could borrow money to go purchase more things. They use good debt. We in the matrix have bad debt. That doesn't exist in the business world. Now, a business world could have bad debt if they have more debt than they have assets, and they can't leverage anymore because they're just spending too much money. Then that's what they don't have really good CPAs on board that are teaching them how to protect everything. So wealth is really created in the real world. It's just leveraging strategies. That's all BBig Financial Solutions is doing, is trying to even educate agents how to teach people how to leverage these strategies. We'll help them set up their corporations. We do all that stuff. I mean, everything we have in there, because I needed to leverage all this myself. Now, I have alternative investments that the minimum is 15% a year, up to 35% within 14 months. That's how wealth is created. All you're doing is you're parking your money into something that's going to make you more money really quick for a short amount of time. Then you pull it out. Then you do it again. But you leverage insurance companies' money to do it. So you got your money working in two different areas. Anything now, and I didn't say this, and everybody that's listening, you're taking a loan from an insurance company. You take a loan from a bank, you have to qualify for it. You don't have to qualify to give them your money. Think about that. You could just hand them your money, a little $50. You could open a bank account. They hand you a sucker, and then the brand is called Dum Dum. Okay, because that's exactly what we are. We're idiots to give them our money. And they literally give us a sucker and say, hey, look, here you go, idiot. Thank you very much. Now they're going to make a lot. So now you want to borrow money from a bank, you got to qualify. Now they dictate the rules and regulations, the payment plans and all that stuff. If you financed your car through a bank, you're making them rich. If you don't pay for the car, they have collateral. They got your car. If you don't pay for a home, they got your home. They're not allowed to make a profit off it. They can break even, but they're never losing money if you understand the way the bank works. They don't lose. They have safety nets built into everything. Now, what we need to do is the exact same strategies, okay, of what we're doing. So when you have to qualify for life insurance, you have to be healthy. What if you're not healthy? Well, the banks aren't healthy. Banks don't have a life. They leverage. Can we leverage? Absolutely. I had to for my company. I can't get life insurance. I'm too old. And I had a cancer. So I literally don't qualify for life insurance. So I have to keep my old policies, term policies, and all the old ones. However, I took a policy out on a key executive of my company, my COO. Be Big Financial Solutions owns the insurance policy. That person's no longer a part of my company, but we're still paying on the policy. So Be Big still owns the policy. That person passes away, Be Big Financial Solution gets the death benefit. It's not outrageous like a bank, because this person's even older than I am when they came on board with me. So the death benefit's not as high, but that's okay. It wasn't the point of that. It was the point of using a banking strategy, leveraging life insurance. So here I take loans from my policy and I use it for paying things, buying things. I have a Porsche, and it's not bragging about it or anything like that, but sometimes there's stupid investments. But I bought it when I was in the Matrix, okay, because I finally made the salary and I went out and bought a Porsche. I didn't buy a brand new one. I was smart enough to buy a used one. But I bought a Porsche and bought a home and did all those things. I just killed my wealth. But I financed it. I did like everybody else does. Well, what I ended up doing is when I created my company, I transferred the Porsche into my company. So my company now owns it. Now it's a tax write-off for me. So as I'm driving my car, it's my company car. So it's 100% tax write-off on all the mileage I do because it's a company car. And what do? You put a wrap on it. And you put branding. So anytime you drive it, you're promoting your business. This is just smarter ways to do things. But what we end up doing is the life insurance part would pay for, the car payments. So what I do is I take a loan from the insurance company, put it into the bank, and then I pay my bills. Well, the Porsche broke down, and I put it on Facebook, and I'm just like, my battery died, okay? Because batteries only last about 3 years in Vegas because of the heat. Well, the battery died, and it was on a flatbed. And I took a picture of it, and I did a live video, and I said, guys, look at this. This is going to cost me $1,000 to get this battery replaced. This is stupid. Why would anybody buy a Porsche and spend $1,000 to get a battery? You can go into AutoZone and buy a battery for $85, $120. I said, but I got to remove the seat and all that stuff because they got the battery under the seat. I can't do that. So I have to send it to the Porsche dealership for them to do it. I said, however, I'm not using my money to pay for the battery. I'm taking a loan from the insurance company. I'm putting that in the bank and I'm paying for the battery with insurance company's money, not mine. When do you have to pay the loan back to the insurance company is a different story. You have to pay it back to the bank when they tell you. But you are the bank by leveraging life insurance. So you pay it back when you want to, when you can. How about never? You have to pay it back when you pass away. This is a reason why agents aren't taught this. Insurance companies hate this strategy. If you don't pay the loan back, they can't come after you. It just comes off your death benefit when you pass away. It's an increasing death benefit. Your family will always be left something. It's not level that they sell to the Matrix. If you take loans on cash value policies in the Matrix and you're coming toward the end. They're going to get at a certain point. You don't have enough death benefit. They're not lending you any more money. And then when you do pass away, these policies implode. Your family gets nothing, but the insurance companies get all the money, but your loved ones are left nothing. Banks don't use that. They use completely increasing style strategies. So that's all we're trying to do is Be Big Financial Solutions. We want to educate agents to come on board with us and leverage our whole entire, there's a lot of moving pieces under our platform too, Andrew. All the things, the whole idea is we're going to teach you how to pay off your debt in record time, leveraging life insurance because of the compound interest. So you can make literally money off your expenses. You could pay off your mortgage leveraging life insurance. You could knock a 30-year mortgage down within 7 to 12 years because of the compound interest and how we feed the beast. But it's once you put money into a policy, you never lose it. You're leveraging loans. And that's what we're trying to educate people on. And then once your bills are all paid off, start paying the loans back to the policy. Because now you got all the money back in the policy again for you to borrow again. Now go buy a rental property like a multifamily home, pay cash for it, and have the tenants now start paying the policy back. That's how you start building wealth. Makes sense? I mean, it's a lot of moving parts. So I'm done.
Food for thought, people. Where can people find you, Bernard?
Best way, well, we have Be Big Financial Solutions. The new website should be up and running hopefully in the next 2 days. So it's BBIG. I'm from Pittsburgh. So I run my words together, downtown, Koch. As I started learning these strategies, Andrew, I said to my friends, I said, oh my God, bless you. I said, we're going to be big. And that's when the name of the company came. They said, why don't you call that the name of the company? I said, that's not a bad idea. So instead of BEBIG, it's BBIG. And it works with my initials too at the same time. So it's bbigfinancial.com is the best way to do it. Or shoot me an email, which is bbarchie. So it's BBARCHIE, my last name, at bbigfinancial.com. That's
wow, this has been such a wonderful conversation, Bernard. You have definitely educated us. And yeah, take notes, people. Like, we have been living in debt, and now we have a chance to accumulate wealth. Well, this has been a wonderful,
baby.
Yeah, escape the matrix. I love it.
Escape the matrix. And it's all free, everybody. It's free education. All that I want to do is teach. Nobody pays me anything yet. Just putting it out there because, you know, I eventually want to do courses because I'm an entrepreneur. We want to make money. But it's all free education. It's the clients. It's the companies that it's a service that we offer from companies that know the strategies that we don't. So, yes.
Beautiful. Well, I wish you nothing but continued success and much love to you, my friend. And
appreciate it, my friend.
Bless you. What an empowering and practical conversation with Bernard. He reminded us today that financial struggle isn't often not about failure. It's about missing education. Once we understand how money systems work, we gain ability to make choices that support long-term stability and growth. His work shows us that wealth is not only built through income, it's built through strategy, awareness, and international decision-making. Maybe today you heard something that shifted how you see money. Maybe you felt relief, realizing that financial stress doesn't have to be permanent. Or maybe you were reminded that taking control of your finances begins with understanding them. Bernard's message invites us to stop letting money control us and start using it as a tool to support freedom, security, and opportunity. So as you step back into your day, take one slow breath and notice what feels clearer now about your relationship with money and future. Until next time, remember, you are the creator of your own story and your soul is the pen. Much love to you all.